Electric enduro bikes are getting closer to being a viable option for many riders. It was interesting to see a Starkvag won the Vecklings Extreme Enduro in Sweden with 30% battery life remaining after the 2-hour 20-minute race. And 2 Starkvags finished in the top 10 at the recent gruelling Alestream Hard Enduro. RFN Australia have several motorbikes in the Australian Hard Enduro series and lent us their Warrior Pro SX-E15 Plus. It's their largest model to date, with a true full-sized enduro model due later this year. As usual, we will look at the pros, cons, and who it will suit. What did we like? The weight. RFN claim 90 kilograms. We measured 94 kilograms with heavier tyres and a moose fitted, so we suspect the claimed weight is accurate. That is incredibly light. It was so easy to pick up and move around in gnarly terrain. The price? It's only $9,000 in Australia or around $5,700 in the USA. And the battery prices are good too if you want a second battery. And the battery only takes about 1 minute to swap. The motor. It's been dyno tested at 17 kilowatts or 23 horsepower. But as with all electric bikes, the torque is instant and strong. In our slower technical terrain, we never found ourselves wanting more power. There's enough to reach 100 kilometers per hour, although the RFN's geometry is not really set up for high-speed riding. There are 5 power modes, which are very well spread and simple to adjust while you are riding. 1 is ideal for beginners. 5 is aggressive and will lift the front wheel really easily. We spent most of our time between the 3rd and 4th settings. There's even a reverse gear, which actually was useful. We regularly get stuck and need to back out of a difficult section. So, what is it like to ride? It was awesome on our usual single tracks and gnarly sections. We have 5 test riders who were all very impressed with the overall handling. It feels like a mountain bike. It lifts the front wheel effortlessly. In fact, we had to be careful with pivot turns because it was so easy to turn it too far. Although it has 21 and 18-inch wheels, it is not quite a full-sized enduro bike. The seat height of 920 millimeters is similar to a Beta cross trainer and will suit a lot of shorter riders. The wheelbase of 1,340 millimeters is even shorter than the Beta cross trainer, which is great on tight twisty tracks, combined with the steep rake of the front forks. Our riders were noticeably faster and smoother in difficult terrain due to that light weight and no stalling. The ergonomics suited all our riders up to 6 feet tall or 183 centimeters. I'm a lot taller than that, so I added ROX risers to be more comfortable on the RFN. The brakes worked really well, especially given the discs and actual calipers are much lighter than standard enduro components. As with any electric bike, the left-hand rear brake is fantastic. Way more control than using your foot. You can still use it if your right boot is off the foot peg. You can loft the front wheel, hold the RFN in place, and just pivot to a new direction. And of course, there are all the usual benefits of an electric motor. No stalling, no gear changes, no clutch slipping. It does raise the issue of whether a clutch is needed. Personally, we think you can substitute throttle control the vast majority of the time. And one of our riders showed you can still get the RFN up a vertical obstacle without dropping the clutch. A really interesting point, whenever we swapped back to our normal 2-stroke, we all noticed how noisy and smelly it was. And of course, we had to start using the clutch and gear shift lever again. It was fascinating how quickly we all adapted to the quiet, easy operation of the RFN. I know electric is not everyone's cup of tea, but we quickly realised the benefits an electric motor has to offer. Let's look at the potential negatives. The elephant in the room, battery life. Much of the RFN's light weight is due to a small 2.96 kilowatt per hour battery. RFN claim 80 kilometres if cruising at a constant 40 kilometres per hour. We only managed 20 kilometres before we had used 90% of the battery. We assume a range of 30 kilometres would be more likely on more open flowing trails. However, there are RFN batteries with 40 to 80% more range that will be available in coming months. A range of over 50 kilometres with everyday dirt riding would certainly be a better proposition. The suspension travel is shorter than a typical enduro bike, 240mm at the front, 250mm at the rear. At low speed we found it worked quite well, but it did feel harsh at faster speeds. The RFN distributor said this should all improve dramatically in coming models. They have Australian suspension guru Charlie Costanzo working on the suspension setup and advising the factory on what is needed for Australian riders. It's Chinese. I don't think this means there will necessarily be quality control issues. Chinese brands are increasingly showing they can make high quality bikes, and certainly everything on the RFN appears to follow this trend. However, some riders don't want to indirectly support a country with a poor human rights record and maybe using slave labour indirectly, such as mining for the alloy used in Chinese vehicles. The short wheelbase and steep brake, as mentioned, these were great for slower tracks, but the RFN felt increasingly unstable as the speed picked up, at least compared to our full-sized enduro bikes. The short wheelbase also made it prone to backflipping on very steep climbs. In some cases, we almost had to have our bodies over the handlebars to keep the front end down. It would be interesting if there was a variant with less rake on the front forks and a slightly longer swing arm. I was told there is a full-sized RFN model that will be available later this year, the SX-E15 with a 7 kilowatt per hour battery that is comparable to the Starkvarg but potentially 10 kilograms lighter. It appeared last year at the EICMA motorbike show in Milan. It looks as though this will directly compete with the Starkvarg, but at a lower weight and much lower price. Given the quality and pricing of this Warrior model, we will be very keen to try it. It certainly looks the part. This is the one I will have my eye on. So, who will the RFN Warrior Pro SX-E15 Plus suit? Teenagers upgrading from smaller electric motocross bikes will love it if they aren't too tall. What about adults? If you need a quiet bike so you aren't annoying the neighbours, then it's certainly a viable option if you aren't too tall and don't mind the limited range. For everyday riders, I think it could suit riders into slower, harder terrain who just want to pop out for a few hours. When we had only 10% battery left, we were already tired, so the timing was good. But younger, fitter riders than us will usually want a fair bit more battery life. That's fine if you return to base and swap batteries, but of course that won't suit in many cases. But the new batteries arriving soon will have substantially more range. All our team agreed that we'll probably swap over to electric bikes soon once the battery range and weight are right for our style of riding. I'm only too ready to say goodbye to oil changes, cleaning air filters and mixing fuel. So what sort of criteria are you looking for in an electric enduro bike? Range, price, weight? Let us know in the comments.